Hi everyone, my name is Murat Kilicoglu, Principal at Cota Capital. In today's Cota One-on-One webinar, we have founder and CEO of Savant Labs, Chitrang. Welcome, Chitrang.
Great to be here, Murat.
To maybe get us started, can you give us a background on yourself? How did you start Savant back in the day, and what is your currently at Savant?
Yeah, look, I've been doing data analytics for 20 plus years now. This is my fourth startup, if you will. Last company I was at is a company called Lattice Engines. We were a first generation data analytics company in the AI space. We build a platform to help data analysts predict who's going to be next customer, who is likely to pay more to run upsell, cross-sell campaigns. That company was acquired by Dun & Bradstreet back in 2019. And then I left and started Savant. Brought my team with me. It's been about a little over 2 years since we started Savant. And we're super excited in scaling up the company and the product.
No, that's great. Obviously, you spent a lot of time in the industry before Savant. What inspired you to start Savant? What kind of gaps in the market did you identify that kind of led you where you are today as Savant?
Yeah, no, great question. Look, we started Savant to help data analysts and business analysts automate manual work they do in Excel and spreadsheets in general, right? Why? I've been observing this trend, since 2016. If you look at the overall data analytics space and the landscape, we see a lot of tooling and new capabilities being delivered for data engineers to build the data pipelines and build data assets, but there is no tooling available for data analysts. They're stuck in the old days, still doing Excel, and maybe they're a little more sophisticated, they might use SQL, but their work is still 100% manual, and there's nobody serving their need. Now, my previous company, Lattice, we were serving their need, but we were very narrowly focused on one use case, only for sales and marketing analytics, and we were very focused on predictive analytics. Through that journey, we realized that this problem is not just for sales and marketing. Analysts sitting in many different functions face the same problem, whether it's finance, it's HR, business operations, and so on. And it's a horizontal problem across all industries. So that's why we decided to leave and start Savant. And also, by the way, the technology is now available to serve their needs, especially with the cloud data warehouses, cloud technologies in general, Gen AI becoming more mainstream. We can now actually build a solution that is usable by data analysts. And that's why we started Savant, to capture that opportunity.
Right. I think timing was great. You kind of talked about the analytics automation in multiple kind of cases there. Maybe we should double click on what it actually means. What does it mean for your customers? What benefits your customers are seeing with analytics automation? Perhaps talk us through top use cases that you kind of offer to the customers at Savant. And ultimately, I want to talk to you about like how does a customer or somebody they know they need a solution like Savant?
Yeah, so let's break it down, right? First, what do we mean by analytics automation? So let's look at first how a data analyst or business analyst do their jobs today to produce the data and insights that business needs, right? The job consists of three parts. First is data collection. Because of digital transformation, every company has data living in hundreds of different places. Even a company like us, we are 2 years old and we have 20 plus business apps. Not all data belongs in one place. So the first job, a difficult job that analyst has, is to go and collect the data. All manual. You literally have to log into the business apps and download reports often, or you have to go to the data warehouse and pull the data you need. So number one. Number two, the second part of the job is what I call data prep and analytics. You pull all the data in one place, you stitch it together, you clean it, you run analytics on it to actually find the insight your business needs, right? All of that work is also manual, done in spreadsheets usually. And then the third piece, which is not something that people quite understand, is delivering the data back to the business teams. Now, in the old days, it was just publishing a dashboard in a Tableau or Power BI, and the business team will go and consume the data, but that's no longer the case. Business teams want data where they live. That means that delivering data back into CRM systems like Salesforce, or if you're serving marketing team, you need to put the data back into marketing automation platforms. If you're serving finance team, they want data back into their system of sorts like NetSuite and so on, or Workday for that matter. So that's the new phenomenon. And that means that there are analysts has three jobs: the data collection, data processing, and data delivery. And analytic automation automates the entire job end to end, helps them do that in a no code fashion, because remember, these data analysts are not engineers. So we help them solve, the analytic automation platform solve them without having to write the code. So that's point number one. And then you asked the second question of like, what are the typical use cases, right? So as I said, analysts sit across many different functions. So important to realize that they are usually aligned with a business function, whether it's a marketing, it's a sale, finance, HR, they support the business needs. Now let's take an example of a finance analyst, right? In a typical organization, their job is to close the books faster. But in order to close the books, they have to reconcile the transactions from general ledger and the bank statement. And typically, again, they download data from the NetSuite general ledger data, they download data from their bank statement, they put it in an Excel, they do have to do a lot of cleanup because the data doesn't quite match. Then they reconcile every single transaction. And 9 out of 10 times they'll find that, well, 80% of the transactions do reconcile, the amounts are identical on both sides, but 20% don't. And they have to manually reconcile that and then figure out why the discrepancy is there. And once all that data is reconciled, they can close the books. This workflow could happen end of the quarter where they are spending nights to do that. But in the world of analytics automation, it could happen continuously. So a customer of Savant, for example, a finance analyst would be continuously reconciling the data every day, every week. And Savant would automatically reconcile those 80% of the transaction for them, pulling the data from where it's needed. The remaining 20% they manually need to reconcile. Savant gives them human in the loop way to manually reconcile and push the data out. So that's an example of finance analysts. You look at a similar example on the sales side, for example, which prospects are best suited for the sales team to call on to close a quarter, right? That may require an analyst to go and pull the data from Salesforce as a CRM system. It might require them to pull the data from their data warehouse to see which free trialers are most engaged. It might require them to go and pull the data from a third party like in G2 Crowd or ZoomInfo, where they see the intent data to see who's actually in the market, and then stitch all these three data together and come up with a list of prioritized accounts that are A, in the market to buy the product, and B, already doing a free trial with you and engaged, and that may be the best target for the sales team to focus on. All of that work happens manually, again, involves collecting data, analyzing it, and delivering data back to the sales team, and Savant would automate that, right? So that's another example. Now you ask the third question, like what kind of results people see, right? Now imagine, first of all, a typical analyst spends at least 20 hours to 40 hours doing this type of work on a day-to-day basis, right? Over half of their work is repeat manual task. Same thing over and over again, right? So Savant comes in and automates them, saves them at least 20 hours a week. You look at a typical organization, this is an example, what you're seeing on the screen is a example of a supply chain company out of Austin. They have 20 plus analysts sitting in finance, sales, marketing, HR, product analytics. They've built 6,000 such workflows and bots in Savant that refreshes data every day, every week, every month. And as a result, they have saved 2,000 hours of manual work a month. Not just that, they are reducing their data infrastructure costs, because before they had to put all the data into one place, like in a data warehouse. Now they don't have to put all the data in one place to analyze it. It's saving them a lot of data infrastructure costs. The time for engineers to put the data into one place is also now reduced. And also, because of the timely and automated insights that business teams are consuming, they are able to convert more opportunities faster. And that's direct, shows up as a direct impact on their revenue. They're able to generate through Savant.
Right. So, I mean, I guess two common themes, which is probably applicable to a lot of the companies around us. One is incredibly efficient process that optimize your cost. These are like thousands of man hours laboriously working on some processes that could be automated very easily. That is the cost impact. On the revenue side, you basically enabled analysts with this the top-notch tool for them to be as productive as possible and as fast as possible to find the right opportunities to increase it, top of funnel, beat top of funnel, or finding the right ICP. So there's a revenue impact too.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. I mean, you kind of started talking about the past of the industry. I mean, obviously, self-service analytics and the democratization of data to kind of help companies to make better decisions and run their businesses are not new concepts. They've been around for a long time. So why do you think, or do you think we're at an inflection point from your perspective? Have the expectations and kind of needs of the customers evolved over the past few years? Like, why is it important right now when we're talking about it?
Yeah. So I'll answer it in two parts. First, yes, you are right. Their self-service analytics is a not new concept, but I think the tools and technologies have failed the user in the past, right? In two forms. First, if you look at traditional BI tools were seen as a self-service analytics, like Tableau and so on. First, they just are technically too complex for an average analyst to use. You need to be almost a BI engineer and a SQL pro to be able to use that. And you'll see that 90% of the analysts are not an engineer or have that skill. So the being able to operate the tool by an analyst just wasn't there. The second thing that failed the analysts on is the scale. What I mean by that is the volume of data that an analyst needs to analyze can be millions of rows, and these tools just couldn't scale to that volume. These tools did not allow analysts to collaborate with one another. They didn't allow them to be in the, with friends with IT, because IT doesn't want on-prem tools. And most of these tools in the past required on-prem deployments, right? So that's the first part. I think the tools and technologies just didn't meet analysts' needs. Now, second driving force, the inflection point, as you talk about, is what I call digital transformation. Meaning a few years ago, the demand for analytics wasn't as high as it is today. Because of digital transformation, the volume of data has grown, but the demand on every business is trying to be a data-driven business. Every part of the business is now looking for insights. And how is that insight come? Where do they get it from? It's from data analysts. So their workload has grown exponentially while they don't have a tool to scale their productivity. And that's what's creating the inflection point. And that's what we are capitalizing on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally does. It totally does. I guess you talked about kind of trends and your perspective on that is favoring the analytical automation. But if you were to look at the other side of the house, like there's a growing importance of kind of data engineering and advanced data scientists, and a lot of the tools seem to be kind of evolving to help those kind of companies, which maybe potentially lower the importance of business analysts and ops analysts, right? What is your perspective on this kind of contrarian theory?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, there is a school of thought that says, because we have cloud data warehouses and we have productivity tools for data engineers to build all the pipelines, you don't really need analysts anymore. Engineers can go and build all the analytics for them. What I tell those people is that go and look at any company, go on LinkedIn and search for data engineers, and then search for data analysts in the same company, and you'll find 50-50 split, right? One great example is Google. That has the largest engineering team on the planet, but they also have the largest data analyst team on the planet. And it just shows you that you can't solve the analytics problems by just having data engineers. The demand for analytics is too high. Obviously, also, it's not just about the capacity, it's also the engineers don't understand the business context of the analytics, or especially the operations analytics that are needed on a day-to-day basis. So they can't serve the need for the business. You need analysts. And if you believe that you're going to need analysts, you also have to invest in the tools for the analysts, right? Without the tooling, they just can't scale. You can't keep hiring more and more analysts. You need to figure out how to make them productive. And by the way, how do you make them productive so that not only their productivity improves, but also your data engineering team's productivity also improves? And that's where I think we come into play. We believe that there is a happy medium for data engineers and analysts to work together.
Right. I think you made a good point in there in terms of, the context is really what it matters. Like you can have millions of rows of data, but what kind of brings the actual context and the business sense to the data is the business side of the house, who are kind of business analysts and ops analysts. So I agree with that kind of comment. I know you like this topic a lot. Maybe we switch gears a bit. Gen AI has been a hot topic in the past 12 months. You guys were one of the first to apply some of the Gen AI tools to your own product very, very fast and deliver it to the customers. What do you think the role of the Gen AI in self-service analytics? Like what emerging trends or tech do you believe will have the most significant impact on this space?
Yeah, I'll just preface that, look, Gen AI is still in the early innings. There's a lot to be figured out. I think I don't subscribe to theory that Gen AI is going to replace jobs just yet. What I do subscribe to is pragmatic, practical ways that we can help people do their jobs better and faster. And I'll give you an example in terms of our space, the VR and data analytics, and specifically for analysts, how can we help them do their jobs better and faster? And there are 4 things that we're working on. First is help them write data transformation expressions and code better and faster, right? So if I'm an analyst and I want to write a formula to calculate ratio of spend versus revenue, for example, for my customers, I have to do all of that manually today in Excel, for example. With Gen AI and tools like Savant, the way we have embedded, they can describe that in plain English, what they want, and Gen AI generates a code for them, and then they can execute, right? That's an enhancement on their productivity. And Gen AI works really well with that. We have already have built that capability into our product, and a lot of our analysts are using it. Number 1. Number 2 capability is taking it a step further. Instead of just generating the code, Gen AI can actually do the data transformation for you and give you the answer, right? That capability requires Gen AI to be a little more consistent and not hallucinate. We have seen instances where the answers are inconsistent because it generates the code, but when it executes, there are inconsistencies. So we are building a technology that gives the consistent answers back. We have that capability also in our product, and it's in beta. Now you're taking it a step further. I talked about how analytics for building analytics is a workflow. You collect data, you process data, you deliver the data. Gen AI, instead of just doing a small data transformation task, can actually help you automate the entire workflow. You can imagine a conversational interface where an analyst can come in and say, hey, I want to collect data from this, and this system, and Gen AI can help you do that instead of just doing drag and drop and point and click, right? It can automatically do that. It can actually build out a workflow for you. And that's the next frontier that we are trying to tackle. I think it's still a few years away, but if we all work together in the industry, I think we can help them automate the entire workflow. And then the last frontier, I would say the most promising would be where instead of analysts alone, imagine a business user can come in and talk to Gen AI and say, here's the problem I'm trying to solve, here's the insight I want. And Gen AI can behind the scenes figure out the analytic workflow that needs to take place to provide that answer, builds a workflow, gives it to the analyst verifies this works, and then they deploy it. And I almost call that on-the-fly composable analytic apps that you can start building with business users and analysts collaborating. And that would be the ultimate vision for us to come through. I think we're still years away, but it's possible. I think we can see promises in the technology. But notice the way you're looking at these things are not about eliminating jobs, it's actually making people more productive, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, you kind of answered my my question there. I think you were off the view that Gen AI kind of power tools and solutions and platforms like Savant are not there to replace the existing analysts or ops jobs. It's there to make them 10x, analysts and business end users. It's more about adding to the productivity.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Great. Maybe I know we're coming right on time. Maybe last question from my end. I mean, you've been in the industry for so long. You've been multiple times founder. What is your advice to people who want to kind of get started with analytics automation in today's world?
My advice would be for business teams first to look at what your analysts are doing, pay attention to how much time they're spending doing same repeat analytic work over and over again, and look at technologies, tools, processes that helps them improve their productivity. As you become more and more data driven, I would highly encourage you to not just think about building dashboards. Think about what do you need. It's interesting. I was talking to one of the CIOs earlier this week, and they say, well, when I ask my business team, what do you do with the dashboard? They say, well, I just download the data in my Excel spreadsheet and I do what, my own analytics on top of it. So don't ignore that problem. Like that workflow that takes place after downloading data from a dashboard is what you need to automate. Empower your analysts, start playing with the automation technologies and see how much value you can get, and ultimately then build a plan around having analytics automation as a core technology in your tool set.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Chitrang. I think that this was extremely insightful. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks for everybody else listening to us. We'll look forward to seeing everybody in the upcoming Cota webinars.
Great. Always great to talk to you, Murat.
Likewise. Take care.